Okay, I'm going to get started this morning by just welcoming everyone. Welcome to Wat Tung. Nice to see everyone here this morning. Welcome to everyone who's joining us online as well. Today is our group learning program where each Sunday and Wednesday I come together with students helping you guys to understand the path to enlightenment based on the teachings of the Buddha. On Sundays, I go chapter by chapter in this book, giving a talk on the actual content from the book so that you guys can understand how to move the mind to enlightenment through training of the mind. This book, you can actually get it for free by downloading it from our website. You can take it and go print it. You can get printed versions here by just reimbursing us for the printing cost, or you can get it on Amazon. So slowly but surely, you can actually train your mind to get to enlightenment. What enlightenment is where the mind is completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. By the time you get to enlightenment, you no longer experience any discontent feelings. You'll no longer experience any anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. All of these feelings and others are eliminated from the mind, and this comes through training of the mind. There's other benefits as well, which we can talk about a little bit after our meditation, but what I thought I would do is just guide you in a meditation, which is the way I start each individual class. And then on Wednesdays, what I do is I just open up the questions that you guys might have. So I'm going to share a little bit of the teachings of the Buddha after our meditation, but then it's just really going to be a question and answer session for all of you to ask questions about anything you'd like to ask, whether it's about the teachings of the Buddha, things that you're seeing here in Thailand, whether it's certain challenges you're having in your own life, your own practice. You're welcome to ask any and all questions as we get to that point. So what we're going to be doing today is called loving kindness meditation. This is a meditation that's designed to help you eliminate anger, hatred, ill will, frustration, agitation, annoyance, even the slightest dislike. By the time you get to enlightenment, you won't even have the slightest dislike towards another person. Right now, if you're having those types of things going on in your mind, it's just because the mind is untrained, and you can get to a point where you're not experiencing that any longer, where you can have love and kindness for all beings around you. What loving kindness is where you have a genuine interest in seeing all beings be well, active goodwill towards all beings. This is the remedy towards anger, hatred, and ill will, and all those lesser versions as well. So what we're going to do to start this meditation is we're going to start with some chanting to ease the mind into meditation. Then I'm going to guide you in a short little session of breathing mindfulness meditation, where we're focused on the breath, and anytime the mind moves off the breath, you're cutting that off and letting it go and bringing the mind back to the breath. Then we're going to move into the loving kindness meditation, is where I'll be guiding you in these affirmations. This is a visual aid to help you understand how we're going to be doing this meditation, where you're going to hear me saying these phrases out loud. And when you hear these phrases, you repeat them inside your own mind on the out breath. So you'll hear me say things like, may I be peaceful. And you'll say that on the out breath. And then we'll breathe in, or you'll breathe in, and then on the out breath, may I be safe. And then once again, may I be well, and may I be free of all discontentedness and the suffering that it causes. So we're going to start with I, because in order to cultivate loving kindness, you need to get to a point where you have loving kindness for this being who you are. Because by having loving kindness for this being, you'll be able to then have it for others as well. Sometimes people have a negative self-talk or a diminishing inner dialogue within your own mind. And if you find that you have that, this meditation is going to help you to slowly transform that. What this meditation does is it rewires your mind so that you can be more loving and kind to yourself and to other beings. After we start with I, we're going to expand our rings a little bit wider. And you're going to hear me say things like, may mom and dad be peaceful, safe, well, and free of discontentedness. We're going to go through these different rings. We're eventually going to get to all beings. When we're doing this meditation, it's important to make sure that you understand that we're not trying to change other people. You can't change other people through your meditation. Everything that the Buddha taught is to transform your own mind. There are certain pollutions that the Buddha discovered in the mind, and this is what helps to uproot them, the training that he provides. In this particular meditation is uprooting the pollution of ill will or anger, hatred that's in the mind, and all those lesser versions. So when you hear me saying, may mom and dad be peaceful, or our friends and family and neighbors and coworkers, we're not trying to change those people. You can't change other people. It's up to each individual to choose to change for themselves. What you're doing is you're essentially filling up your gas tank, like loving kindness in your mind. And then when you go out into the world, then through your intention, speech, and actions, you become more loving and kind in your interactions. And this is what's going to transform your mind and transform your relationships. As long as you're being bitter and harsh and hostile in your relationships, all that stuff's coming back to you. Oftentimes people think the anger and the hatred and the ill will, the frustration and agitation is coming from other people, but in reality, it comes from one's own mind. And this is why you can uproot it and get rid of it. And now you can train your mind to be more loving and kind through the meditation, yes, but going out into the world and being more loving and kind through your intention, speech, and actions. And the Buddha's teachings on the Eightfold Path is what's going to guide you in understanding how to be able to do that. So after our loving kindness meditation, then we're going to go back to breathing mindfulness for a little bit, and then we're going to come out with the chanting. And then that's where I'll just kind of give you guys a little bit of an understanding of the teachings of the Buddha, and then I'll open up to whatever questions you guys have. The chants that you're looking at, I see some of you guys got this, or most of you guys have this chanting sheet. That's how we start our meditations and end it. We ease in with the chanting. It's important to understand that during the lifetime of the Buddha, they used chanting as a way to commit the teachings to memory. That every 2 weeks, his students would come together and they would recite his teachings orally. This is the way that they were able to remember his teachings, because the ability to write things down didn't exist during the lifetime of the Buddha in that region of the world. So he used chanting as a learning tool or as a learning device. So you can see from the origins of chanting that this isn't anything mystical or magical. It's not a rite, a ritual, or a ceremony or worship. It's not prayer or anything like that. The Buddha never taught any of those kinds of things. If you see any of those kinds of things associated with the teachings of the Buddha, they're not actually from the Buddha. Those are misunderstandings that people are doing today. So when we're doing these chants, what it's helping you to do is ease the mind into meditation and get more benefit out of the meditation itself. It's building some awareness of your mind and awareness of the breath. And if you choose to chant, you'll see that it helps you to get more benefit out of the meditation itself. If you look at the English translations, you're going to see a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and respect for the Buddha. And because of that, I don't think the Buddha actually created these chants himself. They were probably created by his students either during his life or after his death, because a Buddha wouldn't walk around and hand out chants and teach his students to chant things to him out of respect for him, because this would be the ego, putting yourself above people and looking down on others. An individual who's gotten to enlightenment doesn't do that. And a Buddha has gotten to enlightenment, so he wouldn't go around and kind of say, here, chant these chants to me out of respect for me. This would be the ego if he did that. So I'm sure that these chants didn't come from the Buddha. They probably came from his students, either during his life or after his death. Because if you learn from a teacher how to move from the anger, the sadness, and frustration, and all these other discontent feelings to this peaceful and joyful mental state that is enlightenment, and this teacher didn't want anything from you or expect anything from you, they were just helping you out of the kindness of their heart, you'd probably have a lot of respect and appreciation for that person too. So that's where I suspect that these chants actually came from. So if you'd like to chant them on the way in and on the way out, you're more than welcome to, and you'll be able to see that it actually helps you to get more benefit out of the meditation. Once we're in the meditation, that's where I'm going to give you the guidance, and you'll hear me guiding you at different times, and then we're going to come out of the meditation with some more chanting. In terms of your body position for meditation, loving kindness meditation is done in either the seated, lying, or standing positions. There is a walking position, but we don't usually use that for loving kindness meditation. And these are 4 positions that you would learn at different times in your journey to enlightenment. It's kind of like a tool belt, because you can't permanently be meditating in exactly the same position all the time. You're going to need these different positions at different times, because your body is going to be changing over the years, and you're going to need these different positions. So as one journeys on their path to enlightenment, they will learn these different positions at different times. So I'll give you guys a little bit of guidance on the seated position, because oftentimes people are first starting in the seated position. It's a very common way to meditate. It's kind of like a primary way that a lot of people learn in. There isn't just one way to sit. You can sit however you like. It's not about everybody sitting in exactly the same way. So what I'm going to share with you are just suggestions or ideas for you to consider to help you find something that's maybe even more comfortable than the way that you're already sitting. So you could sit on the floor, you could sit in a chair. Maybe if you're at home, you're on a bench or a sofa or a wheelchair or something like this. You can sit however you like. But if you're on the floor, you might choose to have some cushions. This is pretty common to kind of soften your seat. And then if you're going to bring your legs together in the cross-leg position, you might just decide to do that lightly, because if your legs are real tight, this can impede the circulation and cause pain in the lower body. And you're not interested in causing pain in the body. Some people like to put their legs off the mat. This gets the hips up in the air, and it lessens the angle at the hips, the knees, and the ankles, allowing the circulation to flow. So that might be an option for you as well. The Buddha put his right hand over his left with his thumbs together, and he put this into his lap. If you like to do that, you're more than welcome to, but there's other options here as well. Some people like to put their palms on their thighs or their knees. Some people put their palms up. Some people rest their hands comfortably in their lap. And then anybody who's in a chair or on a bench or a sofa or a wheelchair, you can also sit however you like. Some people like to put their feet flat on the floor or lightly cross at the ankles, but you can see me sitting in a chair here with my legs crossed, so this is an option as well. And then putting your hands and arms wherever you like is completely fine for anybody who's in a chair too. You can just find whatever's comfortable for you. In terms of your upper body, it's helpful if this is erect. If your sternum is up and your shoulders are back, it'll help keep your mind attentive and alert during the meditation. Whereas if you were slouched, your mind would have a tendency to be dull or lethargic. But if you were real rigid, your mind could be overactive or uptight. So by having the upper body erect, it'll help keep the mind attentive and alert during the meditation. Because this is a dedicated, active, purposeful training session where you're eliminating certain unwholesome qualities from the mind and you're cultivating certain wholesome qualities in the mind. So you would like the mind to be attentive and alert during the meditation. So I'm going to ease us into the meditation with some chanting, which you guys are welcome to join in on. And then after that, I'll come in with the guidance. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakeva Bhutang Mahakevanhang Apivateyami Savakato Mahakevata Tammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakevato Sāvaka Saṅkho Saṅghang Namami Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso mahakeva Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vicacaranang sammuno Sakhato rokavitu Anutero purisa Dhamma sati satatawa manusanang Bhuto Bhagavati. Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect, just close the eyes And start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath. A nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled. Just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathing gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath. Either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. Then I'll be back with more guidance on loving kindness meditation. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathe Breathing in and out. Continuing to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Repeat these phrases in the mind on the out breath. May I be peaceful. May I be safe. May I be well. May I be free of all discontentedness in the suffering that it causes. May Mom and Dad be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness in the suffering that it causes. May my family, friends, co-workers, and neighbors all be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness in the suffering that it causes. May all those who have harmed me be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness in the suffering that it causes. May all those who I have harmed be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness in the suffering that it causes. May all beings, wherever they reside, be peaceful. May all beings be safe. May all beings be well. May all beings be free of discontentedness in the suffering that it causes. Now return back to breathing mindfulness meditation, focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. Breathing in and out. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Bhutang Mahakavanang Apivateyami Savakato Mahakavata Tammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakavato สาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสมหะคะวะอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิจาจารณังสัมมุโนสกขาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรภูริสาดามาสติสัตตาตาวามานุสนังพุทโธภาควาติ Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation. Once again, welcome to everyone. Nice to see everyone here this morning. Welcome to everyone who's joining online as well. I'm going to share with you guys some little bit of a taste of the teachings of the Buddha, and then afterwards I'm just going to open up to any questions that you guys have. If you guys would like to ask questions and you're here at the temple, we have microphones here in the white bowl. You're welcome to come up and get a microphone and take it back to your seat. If you press the gray button, you're going to see the lights come on, and if you just hold that up to your chin, we'll be able to hear you here at the temple, and they'll be able to hear you online. If you speak here without a microphone, they won't be able to hear you online. And then you're welcome to keep these microphones with you, because you might have more than one question, or someone around you might have a question, and you can just share the microphone with them. And then if you're not using it, if you could turn it off, that'll help to make sure we don't get feedback through the speakers. And then anybody who's in Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, if you guys would like to ask questions, you can put that into the comment section. I'll be able to see that. Or in Zoom, you can electronically raise your hand and ask any and all questions by just unmuting your microphone. So what the Buddha did during his lifetime is he figured out these 10 individual pollutions that are in the mind. They're referred to as the 10 fetters, and he discovered the tools and the techniques of how to uproot these and eliminate them out of the mind. When you uproot these 10 fetters, the mind is then experiencing enlightenment. The qualities of enlightenment gradually start to shine through more and more as you're making your way to enlightenment. If you think about the sun and it has clouds in front of it, if you are peeling the clouds away slowly but surely, the rays of the sun would shine through. The same thing is true about the qualities of enlightenment. So while we talk about it as attaining enlightenment, some people think about it as your mind is already enlightened, and all you need to do is get these pollutions out of the way, and then the qualities of enlightenment can shine through more and more. The teachings of the Buddha aren't based in belief. You're not believing a bunch of things and then hoping something good happens when you die. You're also not following rules and commandments and things of this nature. Instead, you're learning, growing, developing, you're investigating the teachings of the Buddha, you're examining them. Then you're reflecting on those teachings to be able to independently verify whether they're true or they're false. And then you practice his teachings, integrating them into your day-to-day life in order to be able to train your mind and transform your mind, uprooting these fetters out of the mind. What a fetter was during the lifetime of the Buddha is it was a shackle and a chain that they would put around your ankle, and then it had a ball on it. And this is how they would keep prisoners trapped or confined to a certain area. So when the Buddha discovered these 10 individual pollutions, sometimes, he referred to them as fetters because it's keeping the mind trapped in this unenlightened state where it just keeps experiencing anger, sadness, frustration, and all these feelings over and over and over again. But when you uproot these fetters or these pollutions or defilements or these taints out of the mind, that's where you start experiencing more and more of the qualities of enlightenment. So one of the biggest myths about the life story of the Buddha is sometimes people think he sat under a tree, he meditated, and then instantly got to enlightenment. And this just isn't actually true. You can see through his own teachings, his own words, that it was gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress that led to his enlightenment. And you'll see that that's true about your own enlightenment and making your way to enlightenment. Everything you've ever done in life has been that way. Whether it's learning how to read, write, and speak a certain language, it's been gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress. Or maybe there's some job or occupation that you have some kind of skill. It was gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress that led to that. So this meditation that we just did, it's to help uproot one of those fetters. One of those fetters is called ill will, or we might refer to it as anger, hatred. When we talk about these fetters, we tend to talk about them in the extreme, but there's also lesser versions of this that's in the unenlightened mind as well. If you experience frustration or agitation, irritation, annoyance, or even dislike towards others, this is the mind's anger, hatred, and ill will, just to a lesser degree. What's happening here is the mind has a certain craving, a desire. It has a longing, yearning. The mind is attached. The mind is wanting and expecting things to be a certain way. And when you get what you want, you experience pleasant feelings like happiness, excitement, elation, thrill, exhilaration, euphoria. But when you don't get what you want, you get painful feelings like anger, sadness, frustration, and others. It's the mind itself that's causing these feelings. Oftentimes what people think is that it's other people who are causing you to be angry or frustrated or sad or annoyed or some other discontent feeling like this. But you can learn through the teachings of the Buddha and then not believe them, but reflect on them to independently verify them, that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings. It's when the mind is longing, yearning, and wanting and expecting things to be a certain way that it can only be happy when it gets things its way. So the mind is craving permanence while it lives in an impermanent world. So remember, don't believe any of these teachings. Don't believe what I share. Don't believe what I write in books or any of these other things. You need to be able to independently verify it for yourself. Look at your own life. Look at a situation where you've recently been angry or sad or frustrated or some other discontent feeling. There was something your mind was longing, yearning for. If you can look at that situation with these fresh eyes, you should be able to see that. And if you can't, let me know. When we get to the question period, you can let me know and I'll help you to be able to see this. Because the mind in the unenlightened state firmly believes that it's other people that are causing you to be angry or frustrated or sad. But if you look at your own life, you can see this for yourself, where your mind's craving permanence, wanting things to be a certain way permanently. Think back to like a boyfriend or girlfriend that you might have got together with. Maybe when you guys first got together, you were so excited. Maybe you were so happy because you didn't have any expectations of this person. The only thing that you were interested in is getting to know them. So at the beginning of the relationship, it was going really, really well. But then over time, you started developing these expectations, and they couldn't fulfill your expectations all the time. And they might have had expectations for you, and you couldn't fulfill their expectations. And at some point, your relationship broke up, and you ended the relationship, or they ended it. This is where the mind might have been angry or frustrated or sad. You might have been lonely or bored or missing this person. This isn't from your love. Love is a genuine interest in seeing this being be well. What was happening there is the mind was holding on. It was craving permanence, wanting this relationship to be permanent, when in reality it is not permanent. All your relationships are constantly changing, and you live in an impermanent world where things are constantly changing. But the mind in the unenlightened state lacks that wisdom, so it craves permanence, wanting things to be permanent. So when you guys were together, the mind was getting what it wanted to a certain degree, and that's why you felt great during that period of time. But then when you weren't getting what you wanted anymore, that's where the mind experienced the anger, the sadness, the frustration, or other discontent feelings like this. You can see see it if you've had someone close to you that's died, maybe grandma or grandpa or mom or dad or brothers or sisters. The same thing is occurring, that when they die, you might experience grief or sadness or sorrow. This is the mind not getting what it wants. It wants grandma or grandpa to be permanent. And when they die, this is a significant amount of impermanence for the mind, and it doesn't understand this. So it struggles and has difficulties during this period of time where the mind is craving permanence. You can see it with something really simple. Like look at the sun. If somebody gets really excited when it's sunny outside, well, then when it rains, they will get sad or frustrated or angry or irritated. The only thing that's happened here is change. That's all that's happened, is it went from sun to rain. Or if you get really happy when your bank account balance is up here, when it goes down here, you'll get sad or frustrated. Again, all that's happened here is change. And you can see that there's no other person involved here, that nobody changed the sun to rain, that it's not other people that are causing your mind to be frustrated, it's your own mind. You can see that nobody else changed your bank account. It was decisions that you made that did that. You can see in periods of time where you're experiencing the most change, this is where you might have struggled the most. Maybe you were changing jobs or relationships or living locations. The unenlightened mind craves permanence. But another way to say that is the unenlightened mind does not like impermanence. It doesn't like change. So the mind needs to be trained how to let go, because that's where the peace and the joy comes in. If you think about maybe if you travel, I know all of you guys probably travel to a certain degree, right? If you're really excited to go to Thailand and you just can't wait to get there, and you show up to the airport and your flight's delayed or it's canceled, you might be frustrated or irritated, right? It's not the airline company that's causing that. It's one's own mind, that the mind is craving and longing, yearning, excited to go to Thailand. And now the mind craves permanence. It wants every single airplane to take off as scheduled. But you live in an impermanent world, and this just isn't possible. There's going to be a maintenance issue, weather issue, a crew issue. These are things that are going to occur. But if the mind craves permanence, which it does in the unenlightened state, you will struggle and have difficulties during those periods of time. So there's this better way of life that the Buddha taught, and how to train your mind to get to a point where it's permanently peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. You need to learn how to train your mind not to chase and chase and chase and chase, because that's what the mind will do in the unenlightened state. It has an unquenchable thirst, thinking the next new shiny object waiting around the corner is going to provide some lasting satisfaction. So the mind, when it's experiencing this sadness or frustration, it thinks like, well, what can I do to get to happiness? And the mind might chase something. It's chasing money or a bigger house or a boyfriend or girlfriend or jewelry or clothing or some other thing. The mind will just chase and chase and chase, and it'll try to form its inner feelings on this external thing. And you might get happy temporarily. Like if you see it's sunny outside, you will get happy when it's sunny outside. But because you based your inner feelings on an impermanent situation, an impermanent condition, when that condition changes, your mind will change as well. That's why you haven't been able to get to permanent happiness, because the mind in the unenlightened state keeps forming its inner feelings on some temporary situation, some impermanent situation like the sun or your bank account or something like this. So when you're training your mind, you would like to train your mind to let go. That's what's going to train your mind to be able to get to the peace and the joy, where you're not chasing, but you're also not all the way over here on the other side, where the mind is dull and lethargic and sluggish and could care less about what's going on in your life. The Buddha taught the middle way, where you can come to the middle and you can gradually pursue your goals, objectives, or interests with ambition, with enthusiasm, through wise decision making, rather than chasing and chasing and chasing, trying to get to those temporary pleasant feelings. You can get to the point where your mind's experiencing the permanent mental qualities of happiness and joy. But in this situation, it's going to be unconditioned. In the unenlightened state, you'll experience what's called conditioned happiness. Based on some condition, you will then be happy. Right? So if the weather is this, if my mom and dad do this, if my boss does this, if I have this much money in my bank account, if I have this type of house, this type of car, these type of clothes, these type of food, if I have a boyfriend or girlfriend, then I will be happy, right? There's all these conditions that the mind sets. And now for all those things to be true is very rare, right? So that's where your happiness actually shrinks more and more and more and more and more. This is why some people are old and grumpy. But you don't have to be old and grumpy, right? But sometimes people are, because their mind accumulates all these expectations and all these wants. So that's called conditional happiness, that your mind can only be happy if these conditions are met. So what the Buddha is teaching you how to do is get to unconditioned happiness, where your mind can just always be happy, right? That the mind is beyond the up and down and up and down and up and down of conditional feelings, but the mind is bright and cheerful and glad and uplifted at all times. But as long as you have craving, desire, attachment in your mind, you can't experience that. So if you think back to that boyfriend or girlfriend that you might have broken up with, and you were frustrated or agitated or annoyed for a period of time, at some point your mind let go. Your mind let go. And that's where you regained your peace and your joy. You were like, you know what? If he wants to be with someone else, so be it. And you let go. And that's where your peace and your joy came back. Or you were like, you know what? If she wants to live in another part of the world, so be it. And your mind let go. And that's where your peace and your joy came in, right? So if you can train your mind through what the Buddha teaches you, which is an entire path, there's multiple teachings that he shares to help you train your mind to let go. If you can train your mind to let go, then your mind can actually be peaceful all the time, because you're not holding on, craving permanence and wanting things to be a certain way. You can see this too, like if you think back to when we were children and we went to our parents and we wanted chocolate and ice cream from them. When they gave us chocolate and ice cream, boy, were we so happy, right? And if they gave it to us 2 or 3 times a day, oh my goodness, that was like the best day ever, right? But at some point we said, Mommy, Daddy, can I have chocolate and ice cream? And they said, no, you can't. And we got angry. We thought they were the worst mommy and daddy ever, because we thought they were the ones who were making us angry. But it was actually your own mind all along, craving that chocolate and ice cream, wanting it to be permanent. In reality, it's not permanent. We can't eat chocolate and ice cream every day. It's just not possible. But as long as your mind craves for it to be permanent, then you will experience the painful feelings as a result when you're not getting it. So if you can see this through your own life and your own examples, you can actually have a breakthrough here today to be able to see that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings. Because as long as you walk around the world thinking that it's other people who are causing these feelings, you'll never actually be able to improve your mind. You'll never actually be able to fix what's going on in your own mind. You'll just continue to be angry and frustrated and irritated the rest of your life. So there's various tools and techniques that the Buddha taught. This loving kindness meditation is one of those, to be able to help you uproot this anger out of the mind, so you're not craving and longing, yearning and expecting for things to be a certain way. Because what happens is the mind's ego thinks that my way is the right way and everybody else's way is the wrong way. And the mind wants everything to be my way, my way, my way. But everything can't be your way. It's just not possible. So as long as your mind is doing that, you'll want other people to do things your way and think that your way is the right way. And then when they're being done your way, you'll be happy about that. But when things aren't being done your way, you'll be angry or sad or frustrated. So the Buddha teaches you how to train your mind to make wise decisions where you're no longer causing harm to others. And now this harm isn't going to come back to you because you're not causing harm to others. So not only is your mind going to be peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy, but you'll notice that the mind will have focus, concentration, clarity, and deep memory. Because when you uproot these pollutions out of the mind, your mind will perform optimally. You'll notice that your personal and professional relationships are really blossoming and really at ease, because you're not being bitter and harsh and hostile any longer. As long as you're being bitter and harsh and hostile in your relationships, all that's going to come back to you. And you can get to a point where you're not even in a bad mood any longer, because you've uprooted the causes and conditions that are producing that. So the courses and retreats and different learning opportunities that I share are to help you to be able to learn the teachings that it takes to uproot these pollutions out of the mind and be able to experience more and more of the peace and more of the joy based in the teachings of the Buddha. But you would be in the position where you would be cultivating wisdom. You're not believing what anybody says on this path to enlightenment. You're learning, growing, and developing to cultivate the wisdom about essentially how the mind's functioning and how the world around you is functioning. Because when you walk through the world with a lack of wisdom, you're going to tend to make unwise decisions that'll lead to unwholesome results. And you can awaken, what this means is to cultivate wisdom. And when you cultivate wisdom, you can actually navigate the world more peacefully through that wisdom. Where when you lack that wisdom, you'll go out into the world and you'll make unwise decisions and you'll experience unwholesome results. And typically what the mind does in those situations, it'll blame other people for the things that it's experiencing. But you can move beyond this and get to the point where you're only experiencing wholesome results in your day-to-day life. So I'm going to just stop here and see if you guys have any questions on anything that I've been sharing. Remember, here at the temple, if you guys can ask the questions with the microphones, you can ask anything based on what I've been sharing or anything you're seeing in terms of the temples and the things around Thailand, or maybe if you have personal challenges in your life, if you'd like to ask those kinds of questions, you're welcome to ask that as well. And then for those of you guys online, if you could put that into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, or raise your hand in Zoom, I can see you're interested in asking a question, and then we'll be able to answer your questions that way. So does anybody here, anybody online have questions? No questions? Okay, let's see if we have anything online. Okay, I don't see any questions. If you guys don't have any questions, I'm just going to end class. And thank you guys for coming. I appreciate you being interested to learn the teachings of the Buddha. If you're interested in learning, growing, and developing on this path, there's plenty of help for you. But it's up to each individual to decide that that's what they're interested in doing, right? Going around the world being angry and frustrated and sad and irritated, this is no way to live life. There's a better way of life that the Buddha taught, but it's up to each individual to decide that that's what they're interested in. And if you're interested in that help, it's available for you at no cost, whether it's courses, classes, retreats, books, audiobooks, videos, podcasts, even personal guidance. Students can sit down with me and I'll help you to take the things that we teach in the classes and relate it to your day-to-day life. All you need to do is decide to reach out and ask for help, and I'll help you to get plugged into the various resources that you need. Whether you're here in Thailand or you're traveling around the world, you can attend our classes from anywhere. What I suggest people to do is to start with this first book. It's titled Developing a Life Practice, The Path That Leads to Enlightenment. As I mentioned, you can download this for free. You can take it and go print it. You can get printed versions here by just reimbursing us for the printing cost, or you can get it on Amazon. That's the best place to start. And then little by little, you can be learning in our classes, courses, and retreats. So the next things that we have coming up is on Friday. We have a social event. It's called Temple Movie Fun Night, where we come together and we're actually going to be watching some movies. We'll have our popcorn machine out. We'll have some music playing. It's kind of like a little bit of a party where each Friday we come together either to watch movies or play games. It's a social event for everybody to come together and hang out and have a good time together. On Saturday, we have our Pali Canon and English study group where we study the original words of the Buddha to be able to help you guys see what he taught and how to train your mind to get to enlightenment. On Sunday, we have the group learning program on Sunday morning. Both of these classes on Saturday and Sunday are at 9 a.m. And on Sunday, I'm going to be in chapter 12 of our book. It's titled Craving is the Problem. What is the Solution? I'm going to be sharing that with you guys. And then on Sunday night at 6:30, if you're coming to the Sunday night walking market, or if you'd like to just come to the temple at 6:30 in the main hall, we have meditation where you can just come for meditation. And then we open up to questions that you guys might have. And then at 9 p.m., I teach here the same class that I teach at 9 a.m. in the morning here. I teach it at 9 p.m. as well. So these are the events that we have coming up over the next few days. So perhaps I might see you guys at one of these different events. You're always welcome to come learn and grow and develop on the path to enlightenment. So if you need help, just feel free to reach out and I'm here to help you. So whatever you choose to do today, have a very wonderful and lovely rest of your day. We'll see you next time. Sawadee krap. Sawadee krap. Thank you again for watching. Enjoy your meditation. Look forward to seeing you online and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.